Welcome back to my garage. Well, actually my editing bench. I made an intro for this video, and this time I didn't not press record. What I did was I formatted my drive. I'm recording onto these hard drives. I formatted it after recording that intro, and then I continued on, because I always format before I start filming. This time I started filming and then I formatted, like some kind of a hiccup. Anyways, what I was saying is I'm building a new pipe. You saw the previous episode. We realized I designed my exhaust pipe without taking into consideration an imaginary port floor on my exhaust port, because it caused my everything to be too small, and now I'm making a bigger one, and it's still short. And I've been advised against making a short pipe because they're tricky to get to work, and especially Fritz Overmars told me that I should really stick to something more low revving first and make that work, make some power, and then build on it. We're going to do that, but first I want to test the pipe I would have designed if I hadn't made that little mistake with the exhaust port, imaginary exhaust port area and stuff. So that's what we're going to do first, and then we're going to see how it behaves. And I have a suspicion there's a problem with short pipes, really short pipes, where the waves are bunching up and shock waves forming and stuff like that. I've thought a lot about exhaust design lately. But anyways, and also I've cheated, and I started yesterday building the pipe, and I was just going to do some testing with my mill, but I got carried away, and you'll see. We're in the middle of the process when you start seeing what's going on. And also I cheated and used the mill instead of metal shears. Okay. most of the welding is done. We're missing this bung here, which will hold the stinger restriction, and the final 25mm section here, which will be part of the spigot connecting it to the exhaust duct. My camera is struggling with welding. It seems like the high frequency start sometimes like trips it off and it quits recording. So, but it doesn't really matter, because if you want to see welding, go somewhere else. This was pretty much a practice session, and I learned a lot. Actually, I learned that actually I should have done some research, and most of the time you fusion weld exhaust pipes, and that is definitely what works the best, because when you add filler like I did in the beginning, then there's, at least when I'm welding, there's a bunch of lumps on the inside, and I had to grind the inside a lot. And I had to do that in various places regardless, because I blew holes and had to use filler. And but some of the welds, some of the latest welds, like these ones, are like not the one you saw, because I had some trouble with them. Because fit up is really important, cleanliness is really important. Like prep work is important, of course, you know this. And so just the tiniest gap, and you blow a hole easily in thin sheet like this. But like this weld, this is probably the best one. Almost full circumference without any problems. There are 2 spots here. But it doesn't really matter. It looks good on the inside, that's what's important. And the outside doesn't really matter. There's threads in there, making the drill wander. I thought I clearly test fitted this. Did I test fit it in the wrong hole? It might be because I brought this from inside and it was hot, and now it's cooled down enough to be tighter. I'll turn it down until it fits. This will be our hold-in thing, I think. Maybe it's overkill. Let's just drill and tap a hole. This is just too much, too much. stinger. And now the exhaust spigot thing. It is done. I finished the rest of it, the welding of this spigot flange thing, and some spring mounts and stuff off camera, because I'm running out of time today, but I really want to get at least one test run in before I have to close shop. As is tradition, I ran it out of fuel, and I also ran out of time, so this is the next day. I'm not trusting the fuel flow from this tank, so I've installed this separate tank, and we're going to use that from now on. And I've installed a filter just to be safe. I'm just gonna add in a bunch more timing down low, because there's no point in having it running this badly down there. Now set at a flat line 15 degrees, which is like there's no, like below 12,000 you could probably run 30. So I need to update the software, because people have been saying that the version 106 software could have some problems with interpolation between points. Well, now there's like from 10 to 12K. As long as it drops to 15 there, then we're fine. Gotta remember to turn on the screen recorder. Around 10 horsepower at 17,300 RPM, which isn't a lot, and torque is low, like between 3 and 4 newtons of torque, which is not a lot. You can see how it didn't want to rev until the pipe got heated up, which makes sense, and just cuts out at 18,000, sounds like a misfire or something. I'm gonna increase timing by 1 degree, the flat line, and see how it behaves, because we don't know if like 15 might be 14, you know. I haven't set timing that accurately, so let's try 1 degree more of timing, and we'll just keep increasing timing and see how as long as power is raised, we increase timing. So with 1 degree more of timing, we pretty much gain 1 horsepower, pretty much from around 10 to around 11 horsepower. So let's add in 1 more degree and see what happens. 17 degrees. I noticed it wouldn't rev as high, like it cut out a little bit earlier, which also makes sense because there's less heat in the pipe. EGT numbers are really low still, like they've always been. Okay, 17 degrees. Got a little bit more. Let's try 18. Between like 11 and a half, 12 horsepower, and it seems like going up to 18 we're at the point of diminishing returns. We've also shifted the power peak almost 1000 RPM down in the power band. What I'm going to try now is to keep it at 18 at 16,000 and then start and then ramp it down fairly quickly. Try 13. This is just for easier running below the power band. And now with a dropping curve at like after peak, which should be the ticket. Actually, I'll add another point and drop it even further, 18,000. See how it behaves, and then let's talk a little bit about what I think's going on and stuff. We wanted to rev a little more, of course, with the lower timing up top, but it didn't seem like we actually, like less timing at the dropping curve made us lose power at peak. So the best one so far was the 18 degree flat line, the highest amount of torque and at high enough RPM to create the highest amount of power also. So almost like high 11, maybe 12 horsepower, which is half of what I'm really looking for. I really don't think we're losing like that much through the belt primary. There's definitely some losses here, but how much? Probably higher at high RPM, but they're not that different. That with the Yasuni pipe we produced like 20 horsepower at 11,000 RPM. That would be obscene. So that pretty much rules out transmission losses to be our problem. The secret lies within the pipe, and I have some theories about what's going on here and what we have to do to eliminate them. Let's talk about it, but first let's enlarge the stinger and see, and that should weaken everything and make the whole pipe volume seem larger and make so like slow down everything in a way. And that could help if my problem is pressure waves coming, the pressure waves, like the returning post pressure waves, gaining strength, like bunching up on each other. The pressure waves, like they're bunching up on each other, and maybe gaining so much speed that they're killing the suction wave. Could be like might not be that it's producing a shock wave. Let's talk about this later. I'll enlarge the stinger from 15 to 16 millimeters, and we'll see what happens. As predicted, the stinger is hard to get out of there. I can see lots of oil around the exhaust flange, which means there's pressure. It's acting like it wants to go. Let's hammer it on some wood. Give me a second here, I'll find some measure to get this out of there, and we'll enlarge it and reinstall. I put a small Allen key device and grabbed it like that, and then not that hard actually. So 16 millimeter stinger. If there's something going on with the returning pulse destroying the suction pulse, then this should help make the effects weaker, because the pulses should be weaker, and things should move slower because they're weaker, the pulses. Let's return ignition timing to flatline 18 degrees, which gave best power. And flatline 18 degrees might actually be flatline 15. In this case, or 14 or 20, who knows. But I don't think it's higher. I think it's actually lower. So a 16 millimeter stinger, more power, which strengthens my theories here now. So let's see our progression so far. We started out with 6.66 horsepower. That was our first run, and then we got some heat into the pipe and stuff, and we ended up at well, around 10 horsepower. So let's use this run. So that's with a 15 degree flatline ignition timing. Then we tried 16 degrees flatline, and we ended up at, I'll choose a run here, 11.05, so 11 horsepower, a little more power, but we lost some RPM. And then we tried 17 degrees flatline. We gained a little more power, but lost RPM again. 18 degrees flatline. Let's use this run. We again gained a little bit of power, but lost RPM. So we shifted peak power. Then we tried a curve, and a little bit inconsistent, but the curve is pretty much the same as, so we pretty much didn't lose any power really, and we gained back the RPM as you would with lowering ignition timing past peak power. Then we tried the 16 millimeter stinger and 18 degrees flatline, and power actually just increased throughout the runs here, pretty much. So the last run was it gained power with heat, and the highest 5.43 Newton of Newton meters of torque. But here you can see that run. So that's the most 12.6 horsepower. That's the highest so far actually, and with a 16 millimeter stinger, which which is too large. A small 16mm stinger restriction is too large for 12.6 horsepower. Well, that's wheel horsepower, so there's probably, I'm not sure how much transmission loss we're talking here, but let's say there's 25% transmission loss with everything here. And that equates to times 1.25, 15.75 crank horsepower, which isn't a lot. But that's probably the numbers we're at now. I have some theories about what's going on here. The pipe was designed for peak power at 18,000 RPM. Now there's like temperatures and stuff, so you really have to design the pipe and then test it and log some temperatures, and then you can refine the model. But it's hitting pretty close. But the thing is, it seems to be hitting somewhat of a power band at like starting at around 11,000 RPM. But then the real power band seems to kick in at like 16 or something. So it's acting like it has two power bands. But I think maybe what's going on is that there's fairly weak pulses from 11,000 and upwards, and things are moving quite slowly. And then at around 16,000, the pulses get stronger and things start ramping up. And really peak power should be up like at around, like it's peak power is sitting at around 17,500 RPM, a little bit lower depending on ignition timing. But what I think is happening is the pulses get so strong and they start bunching up on each other and moving so fast that after peak power it just dies, like abrupt dying, like seems like it's ignition timing related. But what I think is happening is that it's either really the pulses are starting to like cancel each other out. The suction pulse is being cancelled out by I've been thinking a lot about exhausts lately, being cancelled out by the returning pulse, maybe. Or it might be that this is happening. It's like starting to happen and making it not so powerful. But then when we reach like 17,000 RPM, I think maybe a shock wave is forming. The pulses are moving too fast. They're gaining too much energy from, like one pulse is hitting another, strengthening it, and they're bunching up and shock wave, and then everything just dies, I think. Nonetheless, I really wanted some more power, but not as incremental as this time. But we actually gained power, so we're on the right way, on the right track. I think maybe Fritz's idea of creating a low RPM, lower power pipe first might have been a good idea. But you know how I am. I like to start at the wrong end. Next time we'll talk more about, I said I was going to talk about the pipe design theory and stuff. Next time we'll do that, and we'll design a lower power pipe and see. And we will continue testing with this pipe with an even larger stinger and see what happens. But I have to think a little bit and do some more research. But I'm starting to. There's also Fritz is talking about how me and pretty much everybody else are focusing too much on the waves in the pipe and not on the inertia of the flowing gas mass. And there's also the Helmholtz resonance, which he is always talking about. And I think maybe there's lots I don't understand about two-strokes yet. But I would think Emot would understand, at least much better than me. And Emot seemed to show that this works. There might be some, I think there's shock waves. I think shock waves are forming, destroying things. Or waves are catching up and Emot doesn't know. But shock waves. See you next time.